Okay, this was amazing, Mel. Let's do this. This was a plan 2 years in the making. Our good friend and co-host of the Roz Mocha Show, Roz Weston, is dropping his memoir today. It is a deeply personal, inspiring story of self-forgiveness, redemption, and recovery. It's a side he has never shared before, and he's joining us this morning to tell us more. Good morning, Roz.
Good morning.
Congrats. Today's the day. Are you freaking out?
Oh, he's ready.
Are you nervous? Are you excited? Are you all of those things?
I am all of those things. And it's interesting because you and I and everybody here, we've interviewed people who are about to release a movie, a record, a book, whatever it is. And you're like, there's that moment when something that you've worked on for so long and it's only yours becomes not yours anymore. It's like when you release it, it belongs to everybody else. And then it's up to their sort of interpretation and whether they see themselves in it as well. So I'm sort of in that moment right now. And it's a pretty beautiful place to be.
It's beautiful, Roz, but also like I follow you on Instagram and I love the tee up, the lead up to it, because you'd play, you know, a little cassette and a little excerpt, a little bit of audio. And that gave us a little sense of what you were going through, because there were ups, there were downs, there were all arounds. How cathartic was this for you, this process, putting it out into the world?
Very, because there was just stuff that I had never talked about before. Like my mom listened to the audio version of this book last Saturday, and my mom was blown away. Like there was just stuff that we had never talked about before. And I went into this thinking that if anybody is able to find a little bit of themselves or see a little bit of themselves in my story, whether it is, you know, dealing with loss, grief, and then the guilt that comes with grief, whether it's self-harm or addiction or making really, really bad choices. You know, there's an interesting thing when you do what I do for a living, which for the most part is, you know, I do comedy, and, you know, my job is to just make somebody's day a little bit better, a little bit easier. That's what we do on the Roz Mocha Show. And there's just another layer of things. And I think that everybody has that layer, that place where we just stack things that we don't talk about. And this is me finally opening up and not being afraid, one, to fail, or two, judgment, or how anybody is going to perceive any of these stuff.
Roz, I've been blessed to call you a colleague and friend for 23 years now. So we know each other. We know a lot of things. And there's a lot of stuff I was surprised to learn about. Was there anything where you're like, should I go there? You were maybe apprehensive about, because you're also one of the best storytellers I've ever heard in my life. So was there anything where you're like, I know I could tell this story, but do I want it to live on forever in this book?
Yeah, there was a lot of that, you know, Dee. When I'm still not, I still kick myself for the way that I acted when my dad was dying, because I was at a point in my life where, you know, I wasn't able to fully handle it. And when, you know, and I left him, and he went through a lot of his last days without me because I was just so focused on myself in that situation. And I just think now of how I would have done all that stuff differently. And to let people know that you really screwed up, you know, you really screwed up being there for somebody when they were dying is a hard thing to admit. Because, you know, people think you're a great guy and you're fun, but when you can say that, you know what, there was a gift of, you know, being able to say goodbye to each other that I sort of left unopened. And he went through his last little bit, you know, sort of without me. And the line I say in the book is that, you know, he was dying, but I was the ghost. And that stuff's not easy to write because, you know, you sort of open yourself up for judgment. But again, I don't think I'm alone.
And I think it shows you've done the work, and it's so brave to admit all that. That is so hard. And then there's, of course, the highlights. One recently went viral. You had me bawling. I Know and Love. She was known as your girlfriend forever, Catherine. Okay? For many years as well. She's an incredible photographer. You're an amazing couple. You have a beautiful daughter in Roxy. And you decided to plan the ultimate proposal, which was shocking enough.
Awesome.
Can you talk to us a little bit about how that unfolded with the book?
Yeah, so I went into this, so when I sold the book to the publisher, I sold it without the proposal, like that sort of last chapter of the book. But there was a line from the last chapter when I sat down to write this book. The line from the last chapter, the very first thing I wrote was, when you choose the person you're going to spend the rest of your life with, you're also choosing the person who's going to tell your story when you're gone. And if you're lucky, you'll find someone who only sees the best in you. And that's what I wrote. And that was the end. And then I went back and I wrote everything up to that point. But I knew I was going to propose 2 years before this happened, because that's roughly how long it took me to write the book. And Catherine had no idea that this sort of final chapter even existed. And then we shot the whole thing with the reveal and the proposal, and it just was, it could not have worked out better. And I mean, I'm not the grand gesture guy, right? Like that's not normally me, but I think that, I think that she deserved it. And I released it. I spoiled my own book because it's a tough read, and I needed people to go into it knowing that there's a happy ending.
That's so amazing. Beautiful. Congratulations. Now you got to go wedding planning, right? That's a whole other zone.
I know.
You know what?
I
know it's called A Little Bit Broken. I'm already working on your sequel, and it's called A Whole Lot Mended. Because my gosh, you're so much on that path. We love you so much. Pick it up. A Little Bit Broken is at Chapters Indigo right now. Go get your copy. Love to you, Catherine and Roxy. Cannot wait to hear more about the upcoming nuptials.
Congratulations.
Love you.
Dina and Mel, I love both of you. Thank you.
Oh, you're awesome. Oh, that's so good. Wow. Right? I like that sequel.
You were getting goosebumps just hearing him say, you have to watch the video.
I purposely didn't watch that video because I wanted to watch that raw.
Everybody go watch the video at Roz Weston for more.